it was a really healing thing, to learn that my body had never been trying to punish me or, go against me or any of that with the symptoms I had, as much as it felt like that, at the time, that it had really just been trying to communicate in the only way it knew how. And I think that created a lot of love and a lot of healing in that relationship. And it's kind of a wonderful thing when you realize your body's actually really got your back.
So many people tell me that even after their symptoms start to improve, there's this next layer of learning to live again, to trust their body, and to feel safe in a world that doesn't always feel safe. But the good news is that this too can change. The same mind body tools that help people recover can also help us navigate life's challenges with the same compassion and curiosity and calm. I'm Raelan Agle, and this is where recovery stories meet the latest science to uncover what makes the difference with ME/CFS, Long COVID, and beyond. And today, I am so happy to welcome back Keelin Nielsen Donohoe, joining us from over in Ireland. If you missed her first interview, she shared her remarkable story of going from being housebound for 2 years with severe chronic pain to being fully healthy again after discovering the MindBody Reconnect approach. But this time in this chat, we're going to go even deeper. In this conversation, Keelan is going to reflect on what she's learned since recovering, both as a person and now as a practitioner, helping many other people on their own journeys. We're going to talk about what recovery really means, even 5 years on, and how to rebuild trust in your body after illness, and why fear itself might actually be a question and not a fact, and just how to stay grounded and compassionate in a world that is constantly asking for our attention. And beyond the mindset shifts, we get specific. We will look at the day to day practices, the tiny tweaks, and the decision points that move people from progress to full recovery. Before I start this video, I have a small favor to ask you. The percentage of viewers that subscribe keeps dropping. And the bigger the channel gets, as you've seen, the bigger the guests get. So if you haven't already subscribed, I ask you to consider doing so. Thank you and enjoy this episode. Keelan, it is so wonderful to have you back here. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you. It's great to be back and great to see you.
So, you've been on the channel before. I'm going to link here for people who might not have seen it, your interview where you talked more in depth about your own recovery journey with all of this. People will see it pop up on the top of the screen and you can open it in a new window and it'll be there waiting for you after. It's a really incredible and insightful and amazing story. So, I definitely recommend checking that out. But for this interview, it would be great just to start out, because I know you were housebound for about 2 years with quite severe symptoms. When you look back at it, especially now with everything you've learned since your recovery, was there a turning point that stands out for you on your journey where you started to see things differently and thought, okay, I think I might be on the path, or at least have an idea what the path is out of this?
Yeah, yeah. It was definitely when I came across my own MBR practitioner for sure. I had maybe gotten myself about 20% better with other things, healing some of my digestive system, things like that, but not the root cause. And it was
Mm.
when I met my own practitioner that I started to go, oh wow, there is like I remember them saying, I'm recovered from fibromyalgia, and I was like, recovered? There's past tense, we're
That's an
recovered.
option?
An
Yeah.
option.
No one told me about this option. I just kept hearing live with it.
Exactly. Oh
Yeah.
yes, yeah, I
S
heard that a lot. So that was really the turning point, and then starting to do the work, understand why it had happened in the first place, and
uh,
knowledge is power, and then starting to make those
yeah.
changes and see the physical changes.
So for people who don't know what an MBR practitioner is, tell us what that is and what the approach to
Yeah.
recovery is that was so effective for you and, for so many others.
Yeah, so I've gone on to now train as a mind body reconnect practitioner naturally as it helped me get my life back. And basically it's the understanding that we have this intelligence in our body that we call the emotional brain. And it's made up of our heart and our gut, as well as a few parts of our brain. And its role in the body is really wanting us to be safe, emotionally and physically safe, as well as happy and fulfilled in our lives. And it's going to communicate that to us. It's a really beautiful thing that it has kind of it has the best intentions for us, but it's going to communicate to us and let us know throughout our day, throughout our life, everything, is this meeting my needs? Is this feeling good? And that was what my emotional brain was trying to do for years. And unfortunately, it communicates with emotions first of all, but when it's not heard, because naturally we're not taught to listen to our emotions, we're taught to suppress them, or even if we feel them, we might not know what to do with them. Um,
Um,
and so in time, the emotional brain then starts to shout, it starts to try and get our attention in bigger ways. And that might be with anxiety, depression, feeling overwhelmed. And then it might turn into, those physical symptoms of pain or fatigue. For me, I had a lot of noise sensitivity also and
mm,
seizures. So people's symptoms come in different ways, but it's really trying to communicate our needs. And that is really what the Mind Body Reconnect is all about, is beginning to, because we have our thinking brain, our mind, as well as this emotional brain that's looking after all of that. We have our thinking brains, which job is to interpret these emotions and figure out what actions to take, to actually meet our needs in our lives. And so that's what the Mind Body Reconnect is. We're reconnecting these two intelligences, really starting to learn to listen, understand what it's trying to tell us with these signals, which sounds easier said than done. And then,
yeah.
taking actions to make those changes. And slowly in doing that, the emotional brain starts to trust that it just needs to send an emotion and we're going to hear it. It doesn't need to send that symptom, you know?
So I know we talk about this a lot here on this channel in lots of spaces. Our understanding of this is growing. This is becoming slowly somewhat more mainstream. We definitely hear people talking about the nervous system a lot and about, brain neural pathways. And so it's really exciting. And I know from the Mind Body Reconnect approach, as you explained, symptoms aren't just coming out of nowhere. They are there with a message. It is a communication. I know a lot of us used to think that we felt horrible because something was really broken in our body, or organs were shutting down, or we were under attack by a virus or bacteria, and those symptoms were just an unfortunate byproduct of this battle happening in our body. But we're seeing now with so many people with these chronic symptom conditions that those symptoms, those sensations do are a form of communication, which sounds good in theory, I think, until for the person watching or listening, they're thinking, okay, so I have long COVID. Like, how on earth am I supposed to know what that is trying to communicate with me? So, when you work with
Yeah.
people, how do you help them start to piece that together?
That's a great question. Yeah, and it's really starting small, because it's like learning a whole new muscle or a whole new skill to learn to understand. It's like a whole other language, and learning to understand that is challenging. So we work with people one
Yeah.
to one, because also all of our emotional brains are going to be saying different things. So really understanding, what is each emotion in the smallest of moments throughout your day, trying to tell you. And we have great tools to help people learn to check in with that and connect with that. And then figure out, what action to take. And then, they start to see those shifts. But really learning to listen to our emotional brain and understand what it's saying is quite a challenge. And that's what MBR does, is help people figure that out.
Yeah, I suspect for a lot of people, the breakdown in understanding this happens because
Mm.
most of us have been brought up to think about symptoms reflecting a specific problem in that area of the body that the symptom is happening, right? You break your leg hurts. You know you need to rest your leg. The problem is in your leg. You need a cast. It's a quite clear communication. Whereas when symptoms are coming, from things around emotions and that whole mind body connection, then it's less clear. And that shift seems to happen with thinking about the fact, like, I have symptoms And I need to go beyond looking at the physical body and think about what other things in my life, in my environment, in my head, in my past, are could be bringing that on, and focus less on that it's nausea or that it's fatigue, and more on just that bigger picture of we've ruled out structural issues. Doctors keep telling me I'm fine despite feeling terrible. So now it's time to look at this brain and, nervous system, emotional component, which is a big shift. It's a challenging one.
Yeah, and it is hard as well because when I fatigue was one of my big symptoms, and when that happens, the last
Yeah.
thing you want to do is check in. You just want to go to sleep, so because
Yeah.
that's our natural instinct, isn't it? So it's definitely a new way of thinking about it, and yeah, for sure.
So I'd love to hear how, because we talk a lot about recovery and we use the word recovery. Like I want to be recovered.
Mm.
But it's really a challenging thing to define. So what does recovery mean to you and with the clients that you work with? And now that time has passed, how you view this, has this changed?
That's a really good question. Yeah. I think from a client perspective, when I know that clients are ready to finish up, and sometimes they're the ones to tell me, but when I know that, they're ready to go off and do this for themselves now, it's when,
Mhm.
they're preventing a lot of their symptoms. But if any symptoms coming up, they're knowing, why did this happen? They're taking the
Mm.
action and that symptom is going away. So that is when people leave this process. And then, in terms of what is recovery, and I think I was trying to do the math on this. I think it's been 5 years for me that I've been
Wow.
recovered now. I can't, I don't know if that math is correct. I think it's around 5 years. And I think it's just about, like, I think you say, listening to your body's whispers instead of shouts. And that's the
Yeah.
thing, is that my body now communicates, because I always say to clients, life doesn't stop coming. We're still met with
Yeah.
challenges, with unfair treatment, with difficult situations, with things that make us nervous. And I suppose learning to listen to that and take care of yourself and meet your needs means that your body's not going to need to communicate that with symptoms. And that's why right now I'm living a very healthy life and I don't have symptoms.
Yeah, it's understandably a challenging thing. So you're learning to recognize that you're going to have symptoms occasionally because you're a human being and sometimes you won't feel well, and differentiating between that and chronic symptoms that lay you out and not having the tools to get past them. But like it's completely, I find, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this, like changing the relationship that you have with your body, because you go through quite the journey, right? We were told, listen to your body. Like, okay, I'm listening to my body. And then you get these chronic symptoms that are a different nature than acute symptoms, and we're told, okay, don't like focus so much on the symptoms. Your body is okay. So now it's, in a sense, don't listen to your body, sort of. And then you come out of it, and then you have to find that balance between, okay, like, how do I listen? Do I not? How do I listen? How do you rebuild that trust in your body? Because you go through something feeling like it's betraying you, and now you're going out in the world again and taking back on all the responsibilities that might have been put on hold while you're dealing with this. So, how did that go for you? How do you help people who are working through this heal that relationship, learn to trust their body again, and just feel confident that they're okay after having gone through all of this?
Yeah, because even as you were talking about that, I was just thinking of, like, the first time I would have had a bug afterwards, or, even as
Exactly. Yeah.
from like doing exercise and your muscles are tired, and it's healthy, it's normal. But that may be feeling
Mm.
similar sometimes, and that can feel really scary. And it is that differentiating between, I suppose, the symptoms that are signals and just normal experiences of the body, in that we get bugs, or our muscles hurt if you go to the
Yeah.
gym, and things like that. But that's something that I think with my clients, we, like with MBR, we really try to set people up for that. That I know I went through a journey afterwards of rebuilding my confidence, going back to work, going into all these new situations. I had been completely housebound, so it really was like night and day. And I took a lot of self-compassion in going out there and doing those things. And like, just it's almost like every time you go out, like, because that's what fear is. Fear is a request for missing information. It's a big question mark, just saying, are we going to be okay? So every time I would walk into a new situation, my emotional brain was like, we haven't been here, in a while, or this is new. Are we going to be okay here? Are we going to meet our needs? Are we,
Yeah.
and that's what all fear is. It's just a question. And so it was just kind of constantly offering myself that compassion, using my tools and meeting my needs and taking care of myself. And it was a really healing thing, to learn that my body had never been trying to punish me or go against me or any of that with the symptoms I had, as much as it felt like that, at the time, that it had really just been trying to communicate in the only way it knew how. And I think that created a lot of love and a lot of healing in that relationship. And it's kind of a wonderful thing when you realize your body's actually really got your back in the grand
Yeah.
scheme of things. It's odd to say that. If someone's dealing with symptoms, they might feel that sounds kind of odd, but that was definitely a healing thing for me, when I look back at the past few years.
And I think we talked about this last time, but I really just want to underscore this again because it's such a powerful insight of fear as a question, not as a fact. Like, are we safe? Maybe we're not. Maybe there's something in front of us that is a dangerous, but maybe not. And a lot of us go through life with that feeling of fear is fact. Fear means I'm unsafe.
Mm.
And this automatic assumption that that feeling is never incorrect. It's always an accurate assessment of what's going on, and we should be terrified of whatever's happening. But it's just a probe to check in, and I think that's a massive eye-opening mindset shift, not just for chronic symptom recovery, but just for life. That it is our friend and it is here to help us, and it's just yeah, getting our attention, and then what we do with that is up to us.
Yeah, because we can almost get into fear of fear, can't we? Where
Yeah.
we're afraid of
Oh
that
my goodness.
emotion. And it's
I
it's
know.
awful when we feel that way, it's so being able to go out, even coming in today, like I felt a bit nervous to do this because I know it'll go on the internet and it's, but
Yeah.
allowing myself to hold space for that fear, going, no, I am safe. And I assessed that and I was like, no, I'm meeting my needs and I am safe, but I'm allowed to feel that and that's okay. All of our emotions are absolutely natural, normal parts of life.
So now that you are on the other side, so to speak, working as a Mind Body Reconnect practitioner, what is that like? What's it like to watch people on that journey? I imagine there are challenges with it, but also really beautiful moments. So, yeah, what's this part of your journey working with others been like for you?
Oh, it's just I'm so in love with my job. I really do. I
Mm.
love getting to do this. I love getting to work with like the most beautiful people, all around the world and getting to meet so many wonderful people. And it is so special to see people come in and sometimes it's very obvious. Some people do join sessions lying down, and I very much encourage people to be comfortable, lie down, maybe wear an eye mask, if people are dealing with light sensitivity. And so you can see that sometimes very physical changes as people begin to sit up or take the eye mask off as sessions go on. And then other times it's just hearing people's stories and hearing the I don't like the word milestones, but hearing the things that they do that they couldn't do
Mm.
before, or receiving photos of their adventures after their sessions or things like that. It's just these are like such beautiful people. And you just really want them to get better, and to see that happen is special. But you're absolutely right. There are definitely some weeks that are tough, and that's part of
Mhm.
the process. Is that at times we're going to be met with new challenges, and it can mean that we have a tough week. And that's why you have those weekly sessions in the beginning, so that you're always checking in, always kind of going, okay, what can we do to meet your needs during that? How can we apply the tools to this new situation that you haven't been in before?
Yeah.
And figure that out. And that's really helpful.
I'm curious what it is about the concept of milestones, because you said you don't like to use that term. So, is there something that you find that that's not so helpful, a way of thinking about things when it comes to recovery from these conditions?
That's good of you to catch that, actually, because I think when I said it, I was just imagining a very striving mindset, Which
Mhm.
I do find that, many people do come in, because obviously everyone so desperately wants to get better. It's awful to be dealing with pain and fatigue and these symptoms. But people can often be pushing themselves really hard to get better and putting a lot of pressure on themselves, or comparing themselves to other people's like recovery journeys. And that's a lot of pressure to put on ourselves. So I think I thought of that word and I just was like, oh no, the striving mindset. No, no, thank you.
Yes.
That
Like
that
your accolades,
wanting
your trophies
compassion.
on the wall. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And having that um gentleness towards yourself as you go on this journey, I think is so important, and offering yourself that compassion and the space and time to get better and learn this.
Yeah, I was talking recently in another interview, and we were saying how the recovery journey is most of us know it's not linear, but it's helpful to see it as more circular. Like you're going the right direction, but it goes like this. So you
Mm.
come up a little bit, have some sensations, symptoms, and it can feel like you're going in circles a little bit, even though you are going the right direction. So on any given moment, like every time you reach a new up point in that circle, if you feel like, well, this is my milestone, and now I'm never going to go below that or feel like I'm below that. I would think also not a helpful concept for recovery. So yeah, I love that you just zeroed in on that word, and I think the way we use language is quite important with these conditions. So any helpful shift in how we go about this can be really big. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm wondering also, because something that I hear people talk about a lot, because we're working with people on their emotions, on feeling safe in their bodies, in their world, in their environment. And understandably, many people bring up that they're looking at current world events, whether it's where they live directly or just what they're seeing happen in the world. And it is incredibly upsetting. There are some terrifying things happening, and they see this connection between it impacting their ability to feel okay and to get on top of these symptoms. So do you see that, and if so, how do you work with people to navigate this, because it's largely unavoidable for most of us unless you're in a bubble.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's something, because I think it's, especially in more recent years or even the last year, I think it's the most we've ever seen of just being live streamed so much news, to our phones at all times, of lots of different things, as you said, happening locally, internationally, and that not being normal. It's not something I think we've really experienced as a world before, to have it live streamed to our phones and everything. So it's definitely something I'm even learning to navigate. I know my clients are talking about it a lot in their sessions, is how do we navigate this new way of taking in information and just exactly what is going on in the world. And it's definitely a challenge, but I think, for some people it's setting some boundaries with that information. Even I think the last few weeks I've set my own boundary of, no, my phone's on flight mode for the first hour I'm awake, and that's my way of kind of just taking that break. And sometimes it's about setting boundaries, but it's also about just letting ourselves feel it, because we're watching these things with empathy and with natural emotions reacting to difficult things going on in the world, and allowing ourselves to feel it, because we can often, especially if you're scrolling, it's that thing, if we scroll on to the next thing and that
Yeah.
feeling's gone. So I suppose just going, no, this is an extra thing we're all holding right now, even if we're not personally being impacted. And of course there's people being far far worse impacted, but even if we're just watching it, it is an extra thing everyone's carrying, and
Mm.
offering ourselves a lot of compassion with that, and taking care of ourselves, so that, when we want to, maybe we can take actions and do things that we may want to do. But we have to, it's funny, I remember my own practitioner talking about meeting our needs and how that's really important, so that we could then support others and do things. And I said, isn't that selfish? It's very funny that I would say that now with everything I've learned, but I said that, years ago. And he said, well, he sent me this quote about, basically, if you're not taking care of yourself, people are getting what's left of you rather than the best of you. And that's a really important thing, is that we have to take care of ourselves so that we can then go out and hopefully take care of others too.
I love that so much. I think I want to get that embroidered on a pillow. I have this imaginary world with all these great sayings in a world where people still embroider things on pillows, but that's a great way of thinking about self-care and taking care of yourself and what that means in terms of how you can be there for other people. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
S- So, so what is the process like exactly if someone's thinking, okay, this resonates and I'm interested in this, but for the person who signs up to do this Mind Body Reconnect work, this program, what does that whole process look like? Is it like video tutorials? Is it group sessions? Is it one-on-one, a mixture of all the above? What's the average week look like for a person or the journey?
Yeah, so I work only one to one. So because it's all about applying it in a way that is for each individual, that's so important. So I offer weekly sessions. It starts weekly, and then naturally, as people have less to talk to me about, it goes to every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, maybe even a month by the end. But it does start with weekly sessions. But people can reach out first for a free consultation. So that's a 30-minute
Mm.
call where we get to chat about what people have what have you gone through to kind of come here today, and the symptoms you're dealing with. Also a chance for me to talk about what MBR is and what to expect, ask any questions you have. Again, fear the request for missing information. That's a great chance to get any information that you need. And then people then go on to do the sessions. Yeah. And on average, it takes 8 to 12 sessions, but it can be less or more depending on the person.
Okay. So 8 to 12 sessions. I just want to unpack that a little bit because I know we have different ideas out there about what recovery looks like. And sometimes we can present some somewhat unrealistic pictures. We have someone who does a weekend seminar and they're out climbing mountains, which is not the norm. So, when people go through the program, is it that they are, 100% chronic symptom free by the end, or it naturally gets to a place where they're feeling confident they've got the tools and they continue to work on this over time?
Yeah, so yeah, it would be the when people are kind of ready to finish, it is when they're preventing as many symptoms as possible. And if anything is coming up, they're kind of knowing what to do with that and lifting that symptom
Yeah.
in that moment. But what I always say to people is that we're building trust with the emotional brain. And the emotional brain in the earlier stages can still be a little quick to send a symptom because it's building that trust. It's going, oh, will you hear me? So as people kind of leave the process, they may still have a few symptoms, and that's okay, but they have the tools and the knowledge to know what to do about that to kind of lift that symptom. And that's the important part.
One question I'm asking virtually everybody these days because it comes up so much from people that are going through it. It's an understandable point of confusion. So I love hearing how different people explain it because every person helps us understand how to approach this a little bit differently. So I imagine you encounter this as well that people are unsure of how to approach expanding activity, when they should start doing more. If they have symptoms, should they stop everything and just wait till it passes? How quickly should they start bringing back some of their regular activities? So, how do you approach that or explain that with the people that you work with?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think when we talk about expanding activities, it's very much because it's all about meeting our needs and
Mm.
the kind of joy of it. We expand activities because they're joyful and we want to do them. So it's not necessarily about doing some kind of boot camp style training. Like it's not about that. It's just about what do you want to do? What's going to meet your needs? And bringing that in first in small ways, and then as you feel more comfortable in bigger ways. But even like with, say, for example, someone who's been housebound, maybe they're kind of going through the process, they're starting to feel a bit better, they're using their tools, they're getting a bit more confident, they're going, okay, maybe I want to go outside. Sometimes I'll literally, but they're kind of feeling the fear to go outside and do something. I'm like, just
Mm.
walk outside and walk back in. Check you're safe and come back in when you're ready. It's all about small steps and doing this in a way that feels good. But when we talk about expanding activity, it's all in terms of joy and meeting our needs, and it's not about kind of that training or that pushing. It's definitely not that.
I love that. That is everything that everyone is telling me that works the best for them. Absolutely. Yeah, it's less about a formula and it's more about like what's going to light me up a little bit today, even if it's not a pure joy, like what's going to bring me some peace, what's going to make me feel, kind of okay today as I move on that joy spectrum. And as opposed to, I walked 4 minutes yesterday, so I need to walk 5 minutes today. And it's
Yeah.
really not. it's ironic, but this is one of those conditions where it seems the less hard you try, the better you do. It's not about fixing yourself, which is a challenge. It's a big leap in mindset for most people from where they come from. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And even like as you were saying, walk 4 minutes today and walk 5 minutes tomorrow, my emotional brain was like, that sounds boring. Because my emotional brain wouldn't like that. It would be going, that
Yeah.
sounds like I've never been a gym person, the training, that would be my way. Some people that would they would
Yeah.
enjoy that. But for me, I'd be like, no. Even when
Yeah.
I move now, I'll hike for hours because I love the forest, not because I like hiking. It's all about the joy. That's what energizes us. It's doing
Yeah.
things that meet our needs and feel joyful.
And that's another big question that comes up. Like, when should I bring back in going to the gym? How much should I be walking? And be like, do you like walking? Did you like going to the gym before? Like, where is this coming from? Because regimented walking programs or gym programs are not required to get past these conditions unless those are joyful things that light you up and you've been excited to get back to them. But if it just feels like a should or a must, then just it's not for you. For you, it might be something else. Yeah. Time with your
Yeah,
kids, time in
exactly.
nature, playing with squirrels. One person I talked to, it's Lego. Full-grown adults are finding joyful things from their childhood that light them up. Certain kinds of music, whatever it is. Time with friends. Yeah, yeah. All right.
Absolutely.
So this might be a bit of a challenging question. I hope I'm not putting you on the spot, but if there's someone right now who I'm sure there are millions, we know, that are still feeling very much in the thick of it, feeling a little bit lost, maybe newer to finding their path of what's going to work for them. What's a starting place for someone, or what would you say is something that they could think about considering to do this week, or a mindset shift to have this week to get them started?
That's a really good question. I think it is those small changes. It's the checking in with ourselves.
Mhm.
And some people before they even come to a consultation have told me they've started checking in with their emotions and noticing how they
Yeah.
feel and maybe thinking about doing something that meets their needs rather than what they have to do. And lots of people haven't thought about any of that before coming in. But they've even felt a shift just in that, just emotionally gone, that felt good, and the emotional brain immediately sent that response of this feels good that you're listening. But also I would say come to a consultation, because it's that step of getting yourself the support. It's not easy, you know what I mean? It's not easy
Mhm.
to navigate this by yourself. So get yourself that support. And whether it's me or whether it's one of my amazing colleagues, from the MindBody Reconnect, come to that call, ask your questions and see how it feels for you. I think that's really great.
I love that so much. Don't underestimate the small things. The small things go a really long way, and just keep checking in with yourself and get support. I love that people don't have to navigate this alone. It used to take those of us out there like years, decades. Many people never ever found their path because there was just nothing out there. And now there is so much support, so much insight. What a game changer it is when you're working with someone who gets it. And the vast majority of people who do this work are people who have been through it themselves. So you're not trying to explain yourself to someone who has no idea. Like they know. So it's a beautiful combination of that insight, the tools, and just the empathy and the understanding of looking at another human who's like, yeah, I feel you. I know. We will have
Yeah,
all of this linked, of course, in the video
absolutely.
description. So I really encourage people to check it out. Everything you need to know to get in touch with Keelin and learn more, and a free consultation. You really have nothing to lose. It's a few minutes of your time to explore something, to see if it's something that could help you on your journey. So, love what you're doing, Keelan. Always love having you here. Thanks for being here. Appreciate your insights and the work you're doing so, so much. Thank you.
No, thank you. And I think the real shift that's happening in the world towards people, maybe finding out they have these symptoms or these conditions, when they then go to the internet rather than it being this, okay, this is the way it is, they're seeing you and
Yes.
stories and hope. And that's such a game changer. It really is. And I hope that that is the way forward, that people who get these diagnoses or feel burnt out or feel anxiety or whatever it is, that they know there's something that's going to help them and that's there for them. It's very different from my experience, so that's quite special.
Yes, we've got a ways to go, but I used to avoid the internet virtually at all costs because it was so depressing. I knew it was just I refused to
Mm.
accept what I was seeing there as truth, and but then it makes you give up on even searching for any kind of help. So things are shifting because of people like you and all the amazing people out there doing this work. So really incredible. And I'm going to link an interview with Claire Caldwell here if people want to check it out. She's incredible. Also, she is the founder of the MindBody Reconnect program. So a lot of great insights from that one as well. Thank you so much, Keelan, for being here. Really appreciate you. Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Yeah. And thanks to everyone who's watching. And I hope you take a moment to check out both Keelan's, one of her first interviews sharing her story that we have linked. We'll put it in the description as well. And also this one here with Claire Caldwell. So much great free information and insights about recovery. Bye, everyone.